that it is, I'm using mild words here, utterly irrational to say, I'm now going to veto a middle-class tax cut to protect left-wing environmental extremists in San Francisco so that we're going to kill American jobs, weaken American energy, make us more vulnerable to the Iranians, and do so in a way that makes no sense to any normal, rational American.
No offense, sir, but you didn't answer my question. What would you do to try to move on this within a year?
What should the congressional Republicans do? They should attach it to the middle-class tax cut, send it to the president, force him to veto it, send it a second time. We had to send welfare reform to Bill Clinton 3 times. He vetoed it twice. By the 3rd time, the popular outrage was so angry, 92% of the country wanted to have welfare reform, he decided to sign it. It happened to be an election year. I'd say to the president, you want to look like you are totally out of touch with the American people, be my guest, but I'm not backing down when we're right and you are totally wrong.
Governor Huntsman, on the same issue, if you don't mind, the delay, as you've pointed out, stands to threaten thousands of jobs. In a recent speech, you said potentially up to 100,000 jobs. But the president's supporters say a rush decision could cost the environment a great deal more. What I'd like to ask you, Governor, is there any condition under which a President Huntsman would say the need to protect our land trumps the need to provide more jobs?
It's always going to be a balancing act. We've got land that everybody respects and appreciates, but the job we've got to undertake as American people is to fuel our future. We have no choice. I mean, our economy has hit the wall. I want to get rid of that heroin-like addiction we have based on imported oil. $300 billion transfers every year from this country to a lot of unpredictable and relationships that are no more than transactional. In order to get to where this country needs to be, we need a relationship with Canada from which we can draw raw materials. But I also want to make sure that I'm able, as president, to disrupt the oil monopoly. There's a one-product monopoly in terms of product distribution in this country. If we're going to achieve real energy independence, we're going to have to be able to draw from a multiplicity of products like natural gas. We wake up to the reality, Neil, in this country that we have more natural gas than Saudi Arabia has oil. I say, how stupid are we? When are we going to get with the picture and start converting to transportation, converting to manufacturing, converting to electricity and power generation? It is completely within our grasp. It's going to require a president who understands that delicate balance and who's going to be able to go out with an aggressive plan toward energy independence that gets it done for this country.
Congresswoman Bachmann, you were very critical, Congresswoman, of the extended shutdown after the BP oil spill that I believe lasted upwards of 5-6 months in terms of a moratorium. I was wondering, though, Congresswoman, if you were president and there were such a disaster again, what would be an acceptable period for oil drilling to cease, for you to get to the bottom of a problem?
Well, what we needed to do was find out what the true cause of the problem was, and the Obama administration wasn't willing to have a true and thoughtful investigation to get to the bottom of it. President Obama jumped to conclusions, and he put a moratorium on accessing American oil in the Gulf region that actually hurt the economy more than the original disaster. But I wanted to add something on Keystone. Keystone is extremely important, the pipeline. This pipeline is one that would have brought at least 20,000 jobs, at least $6.5 billion worth of economic activity. And if I was President of the United States, I wouldn't have taken the decision that President Obama did. His entire calculus was based upon his reelection effort. Because quite frankly, the radical environmentalists said to President Obama, you pass Keystone, we're not going to do your volunteer door-to-door work. That's what Barack Obama has done to this country. He's put his reelection over adding jobs and making the United States energy independent. I would have made the decision as President of the United States, we would have put Keystone online immediately.
Governor Perry, you have railed against the special treatment afforded cylinder as of the other candidates here tonight, and particularly the tax code incentives for green technologies and allowances that have been made for this industry. But as Texas governor, you have afforded the same attention to the oil industry. Back in 2003, you signed a bill that reduced the tax paid by some natural gas companies that have helped them reap since better than $7 billion in tax savings. So I guess what I'm saying is, are you guilty of the same behavior as governor, favoring an industry that you claim this president has, favoring the green industry?
Today is the 220th anniversary of the signing of the Bill of Rights. And one of those, the 10th Amendment, I like a lot. And the reason is because that's how our founding fathers saw this country set up, where that we had these laboratories of innovation. It should be in the purview and the decision-making process of a state if they want to put tax policies in place that helps make them be more competitive. We did it not only for the oil and gas industry, but we also did it for the alternative industry, alternative energy industry, and the wind industry. They came in droves, made Texas the #1 wind energy producing state in the nation. But government shouldn't be picking winners and losers from Washington, D.C. That's the difference. If in the states, I'll promise you, Terry Branstad in this state, he knows how to put tax policy, regulatory policy in place to make his state be more competitive. And you need 50 states out there competing with each other and Washington out of their hair.
Thank you, Neil. And a reminder, go to foxnews.com/debate to see how well the candidates are answering the questions with your votes. Coming up, we'll ask about border issues, immigration, and a topic that got a lot of attention on Twitter, plus some controversial social issues as well. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sioux City, Iowa, and our Republican presidential debate here in northwestern Iowa. These people tend to like it, I think, so far.
I think so.
I think they do.
Good.
You have the next round of questions on border issues and immigration.
Thank you, Brett. This question is for you, Governor Perry. This topic received a lot of traffic on Twitter. You have joined the 57 House Republicans who have called for the Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder, to resign in the wake of the failed federal gun tracking program, Operation Fast and Furious. So far, there is no clear proof that Mr. Holder knew about the controversial aspects of this operation, and he points out that he actually helped stop it once it came to his attention. Are you and other Republicans politicizing this issue as General Holder claims?
If I'm the President of the United States and I find out that there is an operation like Fast and Furious and my Attorney General didn't know about it, I would have him resign immediately. You cannot. The President of the United States comes to El Paso, Texas earlier this year and proclaims that the border of Texas and Mexico, the U.S. border with Mexico, is safer than it's ever been. Well, let me tell you, I've been dealing with this issue for 11 years. I've sent Texas Ranger recon teams there. Our law enforcement men and women face fire from across the border or in the U.S. side from these drug cartels. It is not safe there. Our country is at jeopardy. If we're going to be able to defend America from Iran, from Hezbollah, from Hamas, that are using Mexico as a border, as a way to penetrate into the southern part of the United States. Venezuela has the largest Iranian embassy in the world there. We know what's going on. It is time for this country to have a real conversation about a Monroe Doctrine again, like we did against the Cubans in the 60s.
Senator Santorum, what say you to the Attorney General's claim that the Republicans are politicizing this issue?
I would agree with Governor Perry that if he was the Attorney General under me, I would have him. I would fire him. I wouldn't have him resign. I'd fire him. This is something he should have been aware of. Something that should have been stopped. This shouldn't have started in the first place. I think Governor Perry is also right, and this is something I've been saying now for many years, which is we need to pay much more attention to what's going on in our own hemisphere. Not only did they have the largest embassy in Venezuela, there are flights from Tehran, from Damascus to Caracas. And those flights stop at a military base before they come into the civilian base. There are training camps, jihadist training camps in Central and South America. They're working with the drug cartels, and they are planning assaults on the United States. That's what we know is going on right now, and we are doing. This president has ignored that threat, has insulted our allies like Honduras and Colombia deliberately, has embraced, as he has the other scoundrels in the Middle East, has embraced Chavez and Ortega and others in Central and South America, not promoting our values and interests. We need a brand new initiative, an initiative that says that we will promote our values in this region and we will stop the spread of terrorism in Central and South America.
Governor Romney, last week, you said that the 11 million illegal immigrants now in this country must return to their countries of origin before they can apply for legal status. You also said that we are not going to go around and round up the 11 million. Why would these illegal immigrants voluntarily leave America just to apply for a chance at legal status, especially when they have your assurance that if they stay put, we're not going to round them up?
Let me tell you how that works. We're going to have an identification card for people who come here legally. Last campaign, actually, Rudy Giuliani talked about this time and time again. We'd have a card, a little plastic card, bio information on it. Individuals who come here legally have that card, and when they apply for a job, they're able to show that to the employer. The employer must then check it with E-Verify or a similar system. Newt Gingrich points out, let American Express or MasterCard or Visa process that, immediately determine if the card's valid or not. So people come here legally, they got that card. If employers hire people without that card, the employer gets sanctioned just like they do for not paying taxes. Very serious sanctions. So you say to people who are here illegally today, you're not going to be able to work here unless you register, and we'll give you a transition period of time, and then ultimately you got to go home, apply for permanent residency here or citizenship if you want to try and do that, but get in line behind everyone else. My view is people who've come here illegally, we welcome you to apply, but you must get at the back of the line because there are millions of people who are in line right now that want to come here legally. I want those to come here legally. Those that are here illegally have to get in line with everybody else.
Speaker Gingrich, is that realistic?
Well, let me start and say that Congressman Steve King has just introduced the IDEA Act, which would in fact reinforce this model, because it would take away all tax deductibility for anyone who is employed illegally. And once you have something like E-Verify effectively working, you really build a big sanction. We disagree some on what you do with very, very long-term people here. I think somebody who's been here 25 years and has family here and has local families supporting them ought to have some kind of civilian certification. But let me say on this whole issue of immigration, on day one, I would drop all the lawsuits against Arizona, South Carolina, and Alabama. It is wrong for the government. I would propose cutting off all federal aid to any sanctuary city that deliberately violated federal law. And I'd begin the process of completing control of the border by January 1, 2014. Those steps would begin to fundamentally change the entire behavior towards getting control of legality in the United States.
Governor Huntsman, a recent Fox News poll showed that 66% of voters believe that the government should allow a path to citizenship for the illegal immigrants who are already here in this country. And nearly 3/4 of Latinos agree. Given these majorities and given the growing importance of the Latino vote in the general election, does the Republican presidential candidate need to take a more moderate approach on this issue if he hopes to defeat President Obama?
Well, I think the Republican candidate has to speak based on our values, the values of the Republican Party. Limited government, pro-growth. These are the things that the Hispanic and Latino populations are going to be looking for. You don't need to pander. You just need to be, we need to be who we are. But in terms of immigration and illegal immigration, this president has so screwed up this economy, nobody's coming anymore. There's nothing to come for. I mean, there's not a problem today. Just take a look at the numbers coming across. I mean, the net numbers, it was posted the other day, lowest in 4 decades. So I say, you know, we've got to secure the border, of course. We've got to deal with the 11, 12 million people who are here. But let's not lose sight of the fact that legal immigration is an engine of growth for this country. Half of the Fortune 500 companies in this country today were founded by immigrants. We have lost probably, well, our market share of travel and tourism has gone from 7% to 12% because our visa system is so screwed up in this nation. So you've got to look at the Department of Homeland Security. You've got to completely remake the way that people are moving back and forth, our H-1B visa system, how we're